So are you interested in knowing about homes that are more versatile and inclusive for everyone, including those who are aging and people with disabilities? Want to get yourself up to date on the latest universal design practices? Listen to what our speaker has to say and learn from her experiences. She will be sharing universal design features that she recommends when remodeling homes. She is committed to teaching remodelers, builders, realtors, developers, interior designers, architects, city planners, and consumers how to build sustainable homes that people can not only live in, but also function in. She and her husband, Mark Litter, built the Universal Design Living Laboratory, the National Demonstration Home and Garden in Columbus, Ohio. This is a top-rated universal design home in North America, earning 3 national universal design certifications. For those looking for a glimpse into housing's future, the industry has a new oracle in universal design living laboratory. Building Magazine called the home the all-in-one concept home. This home has been featured in 102 articles, including Remodeling, Better Homes and Garden Remodeling, Best American Living, Nation's Building News, 50 Plus Housing, Professional Builder, Wall Street Journal, Chicago Tribune, Ultimate Home Design, Homefront, Contractor Magazine, and Ohio Builder. Our presenter is a professional speaker, author, and consultant. As a national leading expert in home design, her radio interviews have been featured on Blog Talk Radio and Builder Radio. For 5 years, she wrote a national monthly column about accessible housing for Action Magazine. In the second edition of Universal Design Handbook, she wrote the last chapter. Please join me in welcoming Rosemary Rosetti. Rosemary?
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And as Dan mentioned, this is a content-rich presentation. I wanted to give you a lot of information to help grow your business, help you be successful, and most importantly, help you serve your clients. As we all know, the home is the most important environment in your life. And as you can see the slide of me on the screen, I do use a manual wheelchair as a result of an injury. When I first came home from the hospital in that wheelchair, it was a rude awakening for me to understand how my house intensified my disability. Today's program is being recorded, so if you'd like to share it with others or watch it again, feel free. I'm also giving permission for the slides to be on a handout that you will be able to capture from the NARI organization. So stay tuned, write your questions as you have them, and we're saving time at the end so that I will be able to get to some of them as we proceed. The slide you're seeing now is the home that I'm speaking to you from, the Universal Design Living Laboratory. My husband and I live in the home and built the home and use it as a national demonstration home so that others can learn by it. This program is about making life easier, and I'm going to share a lot of lessons that Mark and I have learned. This home is 3,500 square feet. It's all one-floor living with an elevator that goes up to the loft as well as the lower level. We're on an 1.5-acre property in Columbus, Ohio. We've lived here now 4 years, and it took us 32 months to build it. We are not builders. We just decided to build our home as the general contractor, and we'll never build another home again. We learned our lesson. This is hard work, and I admire any of you who are in this business. It is tough to conceive. To help understand what put me in the wheelchair, what you're seeing on the screen is a wooded bicycle trail, my bicycle helmet, and the headlines from the article, The Day It Happened. It was June the 13th of 1998, a beautiful Saturday afternoon, our 3rd wedding anniversary, a custom-made day for a bicycle ride. Well, on this bicycle ride, suddenly a 3.5-ton tree fell on top of me, leaving me paralyzed from the waist down. So that was the instant that my life changed and provided me with a lot of life-changing events, not only in my home, in my business, in my personal life, living life now with a spinal cord injury. The house that I was living in at the time was a two-story home. We had built it in 1995 when we were first married, so we'd only lived there 3 years, thinking that that home was going to be our home for our lifetime. Little did we know what features were going to create problems and frustrations for me. So out of this home, we then felt the frustration and decided to get together with a team of architects and interior designers and landscape designers, a national team that supported us as well as sponsors. We have over 200 sponsors that helped us to build our dream home. So from that, we built the Universal Design Living Laboratory. I would invite you to go to our website. It is a host of resources. It has a virtual tour so you can all take a look inside the home. Thanks to Google, they did a Google map with over 700 photos that are stitched together with a panoramic view. So you can take a video tour, you can take the virtual tour, you can see those articles, you can see the photos, and learn a lot more about this home at udll.com. As we look at the home of distinction, not only is it universal design, it is also green. We are proud to announce we have a silver LEED certification, a gold LEED certification from NAHB through the National Green Building Program, and then on the universal design side, these are our 3 national certifications. We have reached the highest level on all 3 programs, making us the top home in North America on universal design. We power pack this home with every possibility that we could afford and fit into this project. I see from the survey that most of you on this call have already started using universal design. So as we look at the person who coined the term universal design, it is this gentleman, Ron Mace. He was an architect at the time at North Carolina State University. He had polio, used a wheelchair, and it was his vision to come up in the 1980s with the concept of universal design, of which the definition is here on the screen. It's an inclusive design. It's an adaptable design. It is a beautiful way to build homes, not only new homes, but also remodeled homes. So as we give credit to Ron Mace, we also look at some of the comparisons in terms of words that are used to describe universal design. Also, it's very important for you to understand that ADA laws have nothing to do with private residences. ADA is about commercial or multifamily, and it is the minimum requirement. So as we look at universal design, it is much more than ADA. However, the ADA guidelines and some of the features that an ADA-approved home will have are also many times in the accessible and adaptable and universal use range. As we look at the words on the screen, this might help you as you're marketing your business through your websites and brochures. Some of these words have a more positive feeling about them, a more positive marketing approach as we're describing the universal design features that we're putting into our homes. As you look at this list of words, this list of phrases, maybe you're starting to pick out the ones that are more positive and the ones that might be more negative. And what I've done for you is to block them on the right lower corner in a gray box. I feel that these terms are less appropriate to use as we're describing the remodeled homes and the features that we're putting in. I prefer the other words rather than these 5 words that I think have more of a stereotype of aging and disability. Let's get them out of our marketing language and appeal to a broader audience. Now, as we look at the need for universal design, I wanted to share with you some of my concept. We're looking at what happens as a person ages. We have a loss of strength and vision and our flexibility. Sometimes we develop dementia, and certainly our mobility changes. I've learned that through my mother. That's her picture on the screen. She lived to be 98 years old. She lived at home for a long time and then went to an assisted living facility to handle her dementia. But as I saw her age, I realized how her home environment did not support her in her aging years. I wanted to share with you some research from the Journal of American Planning that was done looking at single-family detached homes that were built in the year 2000. They found that 60% of those homes were going to house at least one person with a disability, and an astounding 91% will have at least one disabled resident or a visitor during the home's expected lifetime. There's a 25% chance that the home will eventually house a resident with a self-care limitation, and more than 90% of U.S. housing units are inaccessible for people with disabilities, and that's got to change. In considering more research, the American Housing Survey, we asked them the question of the aging population. How prepared are we for the aging population? And about a quarter of the older households in the ages of 65 to 74, and nearly two-thirds of those households have a member who is 85 years old or older, including someone with a disability. We also see that the population has health issues that's going to drive up demand for modified housing and supportive services, and that's where your business starts to thrive. As we see this population aging, these health issues are going to cause them to fall and cause them to want some modifications so that they have better access to all of their home. We're also seeing some new policies helping older adults continue to live in their homes as they age. Now, these are my trends for the future. As we look at those baby boomers, they're getting older with very predictable consequences, as we shared what happens when they age. We're finding out they're going for surgeries to replace their knees and their hips, and they're starting to come home with assistive devices to help them with their independence. They're also wanting modifications because they want to stay in their homes longer. They want to delay going into assisted living. And quite frankly, when you look at the average cost of assisted living at $45,000 a year, what better use is there of $45,000 than to remodel their home and to stay in it longer and possibly have in-home care in their own home. So we're going to have to put universal design in the new homes as well as in the modifications and the revisions. And we're seeing there's a lot of families with multiple generations helping to take care of each other, and because of the finances, it makes it a lot easier on their budget to share housing expenses. So as we look at the trends for the future, let's look at some of the components that will help you in making these design modifications. On the screen are several of the space requirements. In terms of my wheelchair, it's a very small wheelchair, but a power wheelchair takes a lot more space. So in general terms, we need 5-foot turning diameters throughout the home so that they can navigate their way independently. The approaches by 30 by 48 in front of sinks and toilets. In my wheelchair, my seat level is about 20 inches high, which is an average seat height. That impacts transferring onto a toilet or onto a deck around a bathtub. My eye level is about, a little less than 4 feet high. These are average dimensions. I sit at 4'2" in my wheelchair. When I stand, I'm 5'1". And then we look at vertical reach. Where can we reach as the lower shelf and where can we reach as the higher shelf? You see the sweet spot is between 18 inches from the floor and 48 inches from the floor. That affects where you put a lot of the shelving so that the folks in wheelchairs have an equal playing field. We're looking at storage for those who use wheelchairs, at least 50% reachable from a seated position. That's my guideline. Now let's suit up and take a closer look and take a look inside the home. As we come into the portico, it is a welcoming approach. It is a covered portico. The gentle glide in is a 1 in 20 slope. There are no steps to come into the home. We have a motion light at the front door that comes on when the lights are needed. So it's a smooth ride, a gentle grade, a very warm and approaching front entrance. Let's take a little closer look at the house You can do this, as I mentioned before, on Google. As you go to udll.com, click on the tab that says Tours, then click on Virtual Tour, and this is what you're going to see. You then take your mouse at the X and start moving into the front door. You can actually go out the back door from the great room and actually go onto the landscape and see the back entrance also. But let's position ourselves at the front door and take a real close look. That threshold is only a ½ inch in terms of making that real easy to roll right in without having to do a wheelie or having things fall off my lap. So we're looking at a ½ inch or less as the thresholds throughout the home. In fact, all of our entries to the home are step-free, including our garage. We're using a 36-inch wide exterior door, as well as all the interior doors are 36 inches wide. Take a look at the design of the glass on the door. They actually are little circles of glass that are really peepholes in the door. And if you look closely on that center glass, you'll see there's a peephole at the top. There's also one midway. That is right at my eye level. So we have multiple heights of peepholes built into the design of the door glass. Again, a universal design feature. As we look into the door when it's open, you can see the hardwood flooring and the 36-inch wide doors. This is a great view showing all the surfaces in the home are hard surfaces with either hardwood flooring or porcelain tile. Under the hardwood, we have a 1/4-inch recycled rubber mat to make it quieter to walk and easier on your joints. Coming into the kitchen, my favorite room, let me take a closer look. It is very, very accessible for everyone, keeping independence in mind so that I don't need anyone's help as I'm making a meal or serving. The way this was accomplished was by putting the lower counter in that's at 30 inches from the floor, making this easy for me to roll under. It's also a nice place for guests as we slide chairs there. The taller one is 40 inches. Mark is 6'4", so that's where he does his salad prep. And then the one on the left of the center island is 34.5 inches. The countertops then have 3 different heights on that center island, making this extremely popular for all of our guests as they're helping with meals or serving themselves on food displays that are on that table. As we look at the perimeter countertop, Mark and I had to make a compromise. We went with a 34-inch countertop on the counter by the sink and the cooktop. That seems to have been a great compromise for us. We also lowered the height of the wall cabinets. Normally that space is 18 inches. We've got it at 14 inches, which has brought that height down on the upper cabinet. So when I open that door, that glass door on the upper cabinet, I can easily reach the contents on the front section of that first shelf. And if I stand up, I can reach the second shelf quite easily. The depth of that counter is 24 3/4 inches. So those are the details that make this home very functional. I also was concerned about the toe kick, that area where my toes are on the footrest in that little photo on the right corner. That was my old home, showing that the toe kick was not big enough for me, and I was always snagging my toe kick and making dents in that cabinet door. The new kitchen, however, has a 9x6 toe kick, so I can go forward to the counter, making that much more ergonomic than always having to go sideways to those cabinets and countertops. Now I can go forward and have a much more ease of use when I'm especially using that for chopping. We're highlighting those in gold so you can see how those were a standard cabinet from Craft Made. It's the Passport series, so we didn't customize these. These are all standard cabinetry. We then put stainless steel on it as a piece to keep them from getting worn. Under that center island in that taller section, we put the microwave and the oven. What's unique about that oven is the side hinge door that makes it so much more accessible for everyone to have that door slide out of the way. It's a great height for me, and it's a great height for Mark and all of our other guests, in that it is underneath that taller section of the center island. Here I am with the cooktop showing the knee space, which is 34 inches wide. All the controls are up front, and it makes this ease for me to cook all the meals. A little more detail about that cooktop. You can see that the fan and light control are at waist level. We also have the pot filler there and a beautiful Encounter steamer and pasta cooker that has a drain built in so the hot water goes right out of it. That's been real convenient for cooking lots of meals. This is a great design consideration, having the deeper drawers that roll out for storage of your dishes. The one below it is our pots and pans and skillets, versus having shelves and doors on it. It's so much more easy for me to access this by just rolling out a drawer and getting the contents out rather than having to open a door and then roll out a shelf. This makes it a lot easier. Also, I was amazed at all of the components of the pantry hardware in terms of what they did on this very narrow space, this little pantry pullout. I mean, it's such a narrow pullout. It only holds like 1 can deep. It holds a lot of contents. And then all of the hardware throughout the house is this standard bar hardware. As we're looking at someone with paralysis in their hands or arthritis in their hands, we want to look at hardware that's easy to open and close versus the smaller knobs that have a pinch required, and it might be hard for someone to open. Going over to the kitchen sink, you can see I can roll under it quite easily, making that also very easy. We made sure that we picked a sink that wasn't too deep and had the garbage disposer unit towards the back, giving me full access under that kitchen sink. As we put the dishwasher in, we raised it 16 inches off of the floor. Everyone has just been astounded by the ease of putting dishes in and out of that dishwasher. This has been one of the most favorite pieces from our guests who have toured our home, saying, why aren't all builders putting dishwashers on a higher level? As we look at our powder room, we're looking inside to look at some of the features. As you go in, the lights go on, the fan goes on with motion sensors. It's a very independent and safe and spa-like environment for our guests as they come into the house. Now let's look at our master bathroom coming off of our master bedroom. We use a lot of pocket doors. That saves about 10 square feet of space so that you have much more space in the bedroom, so that pocket door just slides into the wall. We've used level flooring transitions. They did a great job between the hardwood flooring and the porcelain tile. A beautiful transition. I'm hoping that I can encourage all of you to do this. It just takes a little bit of thought and putting some compound underneath the hardwood floor as you're putting that in. A detail during the construction I thought it was important to share with you. What you're looking at is the master curbless shower. It has glass block on the exterior wall. The green square is where the soap niche is going to be installed. The red stripe is where the shower chair is going to be installed, and the shower seat needed the extra reinforcement. So we have a 2x8 back there, and all the plywood then was a 3/4 inch so that we could put the grab bars anywhere that we needed them after the shower was configured. And as this house is modified for other people who use it, we can move grab bars at will. Now that the shower is finished in this photo, I wanted you to see how that went together. Now that the soap niche is installed and the shower seat is there and the grab bar is in place, you can see that we have a lever handle on the faucet. We have a 6-foot hose on the handheld shower and an ergonomic shower chair. I like the soap niche where we put it. It is very convenient for me putting it at a place where I can reach it with my hands. And I also like the ergonomics of that shower chair. Here we have the master shower during construction. I can't tell you how much we enjoy that channel drain, which is that linear drain on the right side of your screen. much more efficient than a center drain, and I think safer when you're considering transferring from a wheelchair. We slanted the floor towards the drain. What you're seeing is the membrane that was then put up so that we would keep this nice and dry. This one was a quick drain brand. Here is the shower when it was finished with the non-slip ceramic tile floor, as we see it draining on that rear wall with the slope to the rear. I had to edit this photograph, as you might understand. This was while Mark was taking a shower one day. But I wanted to emphasize with you, not only are grab bars important for people with disabilities, but they're important for everyone. And you might want to call them balance bars. That might be a better term instead of grab bars, and make the analogy to dancers. They all use bars when they're balancing. I mean, people who are shaving their legs or people who are pregnant, they appreciate these balance bars as much as Mark does when he's washing his feet. So everybody benefits. Put those in before an accident happens, not after. As we look at this wall of toilets, there's a lot of different designs out there on the market. What we were looking for is the taller toilet seat that is between 17 and 19 inches high from the floor as a comfort height, making it more convenient to get on and off the toilet from a transferring position. And when you are installing them, putting them 18 inches from the sidewall to make that a very convenient distance so that you can hold on to that grab bar. We put in some dual flush, and all of ours are low water use. So we were very consistent with the green standards. Now this slide is my cat. Now you might say, is this Garfield on a binge? No, it's not Garfield on a binge. It really is my cat. He was preferring to get the fresh water out of the toilet. Now this is not comfort height for the cat as a drinking bowl, but it is a comfort height toilet for me. So this is a shot of the toilet room showing the grab bar position and the taller toilet seat. This one's about an 18-inch. If we were designing a comfort height water dish, it would not be this high. This is our master bathtub. As you can see, it's an integrated unit with grab bars and a very beautiful decking, making that easy for me to sit down, pivot around, hold on to the grab bars, and I have enough upper body strength and strength in my thighs that I can just lower myself into that on my hands and knees and then stretch out my legs. So this is what we did in our master bathtub. Here's a good comparison of Mark and I with our height comparison of me about 4'1", Mark at 6'4". We were concerned about the heights of our countertops in our bathroom and how different they would be. Let's take a closer look at that. You can see it here from that angle, but as you look at it facing it, it is only a 2-inch differential between what I wanted as 33 inches high and what Mark wanted as a 35-inch high countertop. We wanted the knee space for me underneath, and it has just served us very well. Now, the most favorite room in the house, according to the people who are on tour, is this wardrobe laundry room. It is as big as our bedroom, and it combines the laundry facility with the master closet. So it's very ergonomic, very time-saving, and making a lot of sense. I don't know if any of you have started designing homes with this combination room, but it certainly is catching on based on the comments we're receiving. We have put in lots of natural lighting. We've got skylight there. We've got windows up at the top for privacy and lighting. We've got the full-length mirror. There's a sink for hand washing. There is a washer and dryer combination that are front-loaded. It is a beautiful space to do laundry, to pack and unpack clothes. We store our luggage there. We have a fan in the ceiling that you can see that would come on automatically should there be a humidity problem because we are washing clothes there. It has been totally an independent room for me. Here's another view of that room showing the center island, which is a 33.5-inch countertop. 50% of the shelves and the hanging space are accessible with the two heights of closet rods. So Mark has the top and I have the lower rods. As we look more in detail at that, you can see we were concerned about the hinges on the washer and dryer, so they were oriented appropriately. As I take clothes out of the washer and put them into the dryer, it's an ease operation. Also to the right, you can see there's a hang rod with some hangers, so when something comes out of the dryer that's damp, I can put that over on the rod and let it stay there until it's time to put that away. If you're familiar with this term, visitability, let me remind you of the international movement. It wasn't just a movement started in the U.S., and it has caught hold in a lot of countries a lot faster than here in the U.S. But it's taking three of the universal design components and calling it visitability, the ability for your home to have features so that someone in a wheelchair could come and visit you. Maybe have a cup of coffee, maybe a birthday party, an Easter, a Thanksgiving, whatever celebration you're having. So they can come in and enjoy the socialization. And if they needed to use the toilet and the sink, they had that ability by putting it on the first floor and making it big enough for them. We're looking at least one entrance to the house. It doesn't have to be the front door. It can be a side door or a garage door that has no step. We're looking at least a 32-inch clearance for people in wheelchairs to get through. Now let me make that perfectly clear. 32 inches is with the door open, measuring it from left to right. That's the door clearance. I'm recommending the 36-inch wide doors to accomplish that. I think that you'll see in a little while in comparing door prices, that's the way to go. So with these three components of visitability, there was a study done in Ohio with the results known last June. On the screen are photographs that have been part of the research study. What they did is showed builders and realtors in the research that they did these two home entrances. One, as you can see, is more narrow, and then one is wider, and they just did that by altering the slide. And they asked them which entrance they liked better, the narrower one or the wider one. Well, which one would you like? I would think everyone on this call would appreciate a wider door. Then these are the other two slides they showed in the research study. Would you prefer a house with steps to the front entrance or one that was step-free? And as you can predict, those people in this research study all liked the step-free entrance. So let me share with you what the perceived value of the homes with visitable features. They're going to sell, they thought, 8.5 days faster. So that makes the realtor really happy. They also said that it increases the value about $15,000 just for these three visitability features to be included in a house. That's a significant return on investment for remodeling. They also said it was a more beautiful look, better design, better for resale, and appealed to the older population. As we look more at this research, they said retrofitting an existing home, they thought for those three features was going to cost $5,000 more. They also said if you put it in a new home, it's only about $1,300 to include these three visitable features. So let me look at the cost of universal design. I picked a few out to help you. This one I got from Concrete Change's website, Eleanor Smith. If you haven't been to the Concrete Change website, please do so, concretechange.org. Eleanor Smith is the leader in the U.S. who has started this visitability movement in legislation. So I asked her, what does it cost to make a home more visitable? And she is stating that with the zero-step entrance, based on the foundation, you're spending between $100 and $600, averaging $300. She's also saying the average to put in a ramp is about $3,300. Again, some homes are going to be harder to ramp than others. But then there is legislation Bolingbrook, Illinois, that was passed in 2002, requiring every single new home to have a zero-step entrance. And so this letter was submitted to Eleanor Smith, and she shared it with me, that they confirmed that they had built nearly 4,000 homes, and all with zero-step entrances at no added cost. Wow. That was an amazing data for that city to have that many new homes now with zero-step entrances over basements. So as we look, how much are we spending now on a project with universal design? And you can see some of the features are in that box over on the right with the background. You're seeing some of the prices now versus later. It makes a lot more sense when you're putting in a room addition to put these features in from the beginning rather than spending a lot more money later on modifying and having to tear it out, rip and replace it. So I went to the website and I found one called House Logic. Now this data was from 2010, and they're showing the cost for reinforcing the showers for the grab bars for a 3x5 shower. They're showing the range of cost to buy a grab bar and the range of cost to install a grab bar. So that's not a hard number for people to realize when they realize the return on investment of having some safety versus breaking a hip, breaking a knee, ending up in a hospital, and having a much harder time with their health. We also went to House Logic to look at these curbless custom tiled showers, and the range was $5,000 to $15,000 back in 2010 for a curbless shower. They also realized that if you're going to do some modifications on the floor joist, that was the average cost, between $200 and $300. But they also said that a curbless shower costs about the same as one with a curb. So why would you put in the lip at the entrance? The lip makes no sense. I can't jump over a lip in my wheelchair. I can't do a wheelie and get into that. Someone with a walker, it's very hard to stumble across those curbs. There's a lot better solutions to keeping water out of the bathroom by putting these channel drains in and slanting the floors. People in the younger generation love these curbless showers. Those folks see it as a very modern look, a very clean look. As we're putting in benches for a tiled shower, we're seeing the built-in corner bench cost between $150 and $250, and these folding shower seats that you buy from the suppliers are up to $500. So another investment, so someone who can't stand but can sit when they shower, have that convenience. As we're looking at the all-in-one curbless acrylic shower, and this one is from our home in the guest bathroom. This is a unit with all the hand grips in and the fold-down bench. This unit is probably on the high end, but they said that their cost is between $2,000 and $4,500. Again, this was data from House Logic in 2010. So as you're putting in the acrylic showers, why don't you put them in without the curbs? They're out there and affordable. The handheld shower heads, I'm sure you've been buying them now. They cost between $50 and $100. Not a big investment. As we're looking at toilets, the taller toilets that have the taller toilet seats compared to the shorter ones, the 14 to 15 inch, there might be a $50 add-on, not including the installation of a new toilet. So not much difference. Again, House Logic, I looked to see what it costs to widen the door from those narrower ones of 30 inches or 32 inches. Their data showed a $20 to $30 per door cost for a 36-inch door compared to a 32-inch door. And then when you put the new framing and the trim and the labor, they're averaging labor cost and trim at $125 to $500 per door. Now, I wanted to do some more checking here in Columbus. So I did some checking to find out, and those costs are a little different right now. We're finding that doors in the Columbus market are only costing about $20 more between a door that's 30 inches and 36 inches. So we're not spending that much more, and that would be a solid poplar door. If we were to use a hollow door, it's only $5 more, and the solid core door is only $8 more. So I know some of you are remodeling an existing home, and this is one that I got to visit, where this gentleman in a wheelchair just bought an $18 pair of swing-away hinges, giving him that 2 inches that he needed so he could now get in and out of those rooms. What a simple investment to just change out the hinges and get 2 more inches of width through the doorways. As you're looking at lever-style doors or handles, knobs, you're seeing very comparable prices. So I hope you're investing in the lever-style handles, making it easier for someone with paralysis or arthritis, or someone whose hands are full and uses their elbows to open those handles. I wanted to also let you know that I have a free report that is at our website, and I encourage all of you to sign up for it. It is a list of the universal design features, room by room, in our home. So you want details, you're going to get them. You're going to get all of the specifics in terms of how high each of these areas are and how wide each of these areas are. So again, go there, sign into our free report and just download it. Feel free to share it with others. By being in our database, we will let you know about something new that's coming up very soon, and that's our Universal Design Toolkit. It's not ready yet. This is my new book, but you'll be able to get an email from me as soon as it comes out. This toolkit was made for you. It's going to be the best investment you've ever made, with home checklists, costs of remodeling, questions you can use to interview your clients, how clients can find sources of funding, dimensions for space planning, tips to market your business. It's just a great tool to communicate with your clients, to use checklists during that design process. There's these studies from the home evaluations and valuations on visitability that are going to be there. We have 12 chapters. We also have a special bonus where I go through the kitchen and do a tour. You're going to get that video tour. You're also going to get lots of videos from when I've taught the full class on universal design. To make this even a sweeter deal, we're going to normally sell it for $197, but because you're here on this webinar, we're going to take $100 off the price and sell it to you at only $97. Now, in order for us to keep track of who is entitled to this discount, we're giving you a special code, so it's very important to write this down. It's easy to remember. It's NARI Web. It's NARI Webinar. So when we send you an email saying the Universal Design Toolkit is now for sale, we will give you all information to go to our shopping cart and order it. Please put in the code NARI Web, and you will get $100 off just for being on this webinar today, as well as those who watch the replay. We're going to grant that to anyone watching this webinar, either now live or the replay that will be coming to you soon. I speak for a living, and if any of you have conferences where you'd like to bring me in to do a full-blown presentation customized for your event, please contact me. My speaking business website has videos, lists of clients, testimonials, descriptions of my speaking program. In addition to universal design, I also help people learn how to cope with change and deal with adversity as a motivational speaker. An easy-to-remember website, rosemaryspeaks.com. With that, I hope that you can see with a new set of eyes, as Mark has these funky-looking eyes on for this slide. Maybe I've given you a new perspective. Maybe you'll be willing to then utilize a lot more of these features as you're going forward in your next project. To get in touch with me, my phone is there, my email is there. It's just rosemary@udll.com. We promise to save you time today. This is your time now. We have Dan who is monitoring the chat, so if you have not yet asked a question, please type that in on the chat line, and Dan is going to open up the line with your question. So what's the first question, Dan? And let's take a stab at it.
Okay, well, the first one says, ask about where the costs were identified from. They're from California, and they recognize the prices out in California are quite a bit different, as I would expect they are here in Chicago or D.C. So, is there an idea about where those prices are averaged through?
That was on houselogic.com, and it was a 2010 data. I don't know if they gave the details, if it was a nationwide or a regional study.
Okay.
That's why I called my local capital city, Millwork, last week to find out how much more a hollow door would cost from a 30-inch to a 36-inch wide. So you'll just have to call your millwork company and find out in California. But realistically, if a door is only costing you $8 or so more between a 30-inch and a 36-inch, look at what it does for the value of the occupants, giving them access to that bedroom, to that bathroom, where before they couldn't even get in. So that's easy in a conversation with your client to make that as a recommendation that we put all the wider doors in. You're going to thank me later for that.
I have, says, what new technology for electrical control would you recommend?
We've been using a lot of the motion sensors. That has been wonderful. Rather than having to turn on our smartphone and using some of the Control 4 devices that are here, even though we do have Control 4 in our home, we have not hooked it up to our electrical system. What we have found is by putting motion sensors at particular entrances to, like the stairway to the basement or to the pantry or to the powder room, that has been a saving for all of our guests and for me, so that as I approach those rooms, the lights come on. We have those on in our wardrobe laundry room also. And that's so easy. I don't have to touch a light switch very often in my day. They're just coming on and coming back off again. It's also saving electricity. If one of us in the past had been forgetful of turning lights off when we leave a room, these lights go off after a few moments.
Next one is, has anyone looked at design concepts with an eye toward clients with on the autistic spectrum, rather than physical, more on the mental side?
I just read an article. It is by Lauren Hunter. She just wrote that article, and I just saw that on the website. I've also read an entire book on that. Autistic considerations are about helping to calm down the element of interior design in terms of not putting a lot of patterns and noise in terms of visual noise. I remember that being one. So there are some documents and books out there on the autistic spectrum. If you would like to email me, Rosemary at udll.com. I know that Lauren Hunter one was just out there, so it's still available, and I'd be happy to send you that link.
And that was in Remodeling magazine?
I just saw it, and I don't remember at this point where it was. I just read it 2 days ago. It was just out there, so it is about autism and dementia. I think it was about dementia. Excuse me. That one was about dementia, but I've just read some more about autistic. And the autistic piece and the dementia piece are very similar. For example, when I read the book on dementia design, they talked about putting glass on some of the cabinets in the kitchen so that the person with dementia could see what's in the cabinet and know that that is a cabinet and know what's in there. And so, we didn't know that when we put the glass in. We did it because it looked pretty and it lightened the weight of the cabinet in terms of visual weight. And then later in the book I read on dementia, it said the people with dementia appreciate that so they can see what's inside the cabinet. But I'd be happy to share what I've learned about both the autistic and the people with dementia and some interior design considerations, or Google it. There is information out there.
The next one is talking about wall cabinets and using electrical lifts and motorized tracks and whatnot to be able to access it for get the high stuff. If they'll maximize the use of the cabinets.
We did look at the electronic device that would lower and raise the height of that countertop in the kitchen. It was an expensive proposition, and we didn't think it had that much merit. If we went with the 34-inch compromise, we thought that was going to be easier. We didn't want to have a maintenance nightmare if the motor broke or if it got stuck somewhere. And because I am the primary cook in the home, we just thought it just didn't make sense to put in the motorized lift in our case. But there are lots of wonderful products out there. You just have to evaluate them. It's an independent decision by the client and the contractor whether it's worth the investment or not.
Charlie's asking about, the corners of the counters and whatnot. Is there good products for protecting those that you can put on there so that if you run into them, they don't hurt yourself? Or
we just avoided corners so that we didn't have corners. We made everything radius whenever we could. So that was my solution in the design, is putting, if you're looking at countertops, the fabricator had an easy time rounding those off.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? I mean, wall corners. He's talking about wall corners. Protecting at the wall.
The only thing we've used, and that was in the older house, we just went and probably to our local box hardware store and got some plastic that self-stick, and that was just to keep it from getting nicked. But we have nothing here in our home to protect our wall corners. We have not identified that as a trouble spot. Because we have such wide hallways and because the house itself is set up with an open concept, there aren't obstacles by having corners that seem to portray a hazard for anyone. So having the open concept and the wideness of our hallways, and very few hallways, by the way, everything was open concept.
One of the things I just recently saw in terms, I saw you had the pocket door and an access to the bathroom, and one of the clients had a challenge because they needed to have a grab bar, and if they put a pocket door, they lose the bracing for that. So they put one of those barn door type sliding doors to slide across the front, so that rather than poking a hole inside, it just slid around on the front of it, so that they were able to have the bracing for the grab bars and still have the privacy of the door. But that was a pretty interesting way to do it.
An excellent suggestion. Those telescopic doors come in various widths, and you can add as many as you need. And we actually did that in the toileting room. If you remember the slide of the cat on the toilet getting a drink of water, that little toileting room has one of those telescopic doors in it because there wasn't enough room on that drywall side to put in a full pocket door. So we put in a series of the telescopic doors, and that series, when it's totally pulled, creates that privacy door. We used a very lightweight plastic resin as the sheet good so that we still have light going into that toileting room that's borrowed light from the master bathroom.
Let's see, Barbara has, it's like two questions here. So pocket door for bathroom, any investigation on hardware for future arthritis? Because, the pocket door, to get in and to get hard to get out. And she also goes on to ask, do you believe an angled grab bar to toilet is better than a strictly horizontal one? So I've seen them both ways.
The hardware we put in seems to be appropriate for someone with quadriplegia who could not use their hands, as well as people with arthritis. So as you look at the hardware on our pocket door, there's a small button that you can use your knuckle to push into, and then that whole mechanism pulls out, leaving room for 3 fingers to actually use that hardware to open and close that pocket door. So we have found a wonderful pocket door hardware. As you go to our website, all of our contributors are listed there in alphabetical order, and you'll be able to see all of the products that we used in our home. that were contributed by these wonderful companies around the globe. So that hardware that we used on the pocket door, I think, addresses arthritis. I think on the angled versus the straight horizontal, there's some wonderful folks in Buffalo that have done some research on it, so I'm not familiar with what the research is showing, but I have found...
And who provided it for you? That's good, good.
Able to use the horizontal. That's how we have it in my main toileting room, and it's been great. I see that in all the commercial spaces too. However, when I was visiting my mother in her condominium, we had put an angled one there for her. It seemed to be easier for her in her 90s to use the angled grab bar versus the horizontal. So I'm not sure what research is showing, but talk to the client and see what their preference might be as they go into the community, into a commercial bathroom, and say, do you find that's easier to the horizontal, or would you rather have a short angled one?
So Ken says use a 42-inch pocket door with handles on both sides that opens at 36 inches. And I think that's all the time we've got. We're right at the hour. Rosemary, I really appreciate you doing this for us. It was an excellent program.
Thank you.
Look forward to trying to figure out how to do another one.
Thank you. And if any of you have questions, rosemary@udll.com. I'm a good resource for you. If you've got a project you want me to take a look at, I'd be happy to do that.